StraighTallDay.com.
To show you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is business is a contact sport. And before we get started, let me remind everyone, every day I send out a message called the Daily Motivation, free of charge, straight to your phone. This message is guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day. So I already know you want to receive this message, so let me tell you how to get it. Just text me right now at my number, which is 305-384-6894. And every morning when that daily motivation message goes out, everyone who's a member of my text community, which will now include you, will get that message straight to your phone. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. Anyone here run their business? You want to make more money in your business. You want to bring in more revenue, more income. You feel like you are not quite hitting your full potential. You know that there's more that you could be doing. There's more that you could be being as an individual, and you want some help with actually getting there. And you know that the fastest way to get there is to actually have help rather than try to do everything by yourself, which is the slowest and the least efficient way to do things. Then go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Join the university, and inside that university, that is the only place in the world where you can be coached directly by me. You can get help directly specifically from me to help you take your game, your life, personally and professionally, where you want it to be. That is starting with your mindset as the foundation when it comes to your game plans, or some people call strategy, when it comes to the systems, which are the mechanisms that operate the game plan over and over again, and when it comes to your accountability for actually executing. All of that happens inside of Work on Your Game University. Again, the only place to join is by going to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Now, with all that said, let's get into the topic here today. The subject is business is a contact sport. So we're going to get into what that means and how that is going to affect you moving forward, what you should expect moving forward, how it's going to affect you moving forward. And then, of course, with all that, we know things happen in life. We don't control a lot of things that happen to us in life, but we do control how we respond to them. So then what exactly can we do about the fact that there are things that are going to happen to us as a result of business being a contact sport? I'm going to pose those questions and I'm going to answer them all here in this masterclass. This is what I do here every day, by the way. So if you are new, you're wondering, is it really this good every single day? The answer is yes, it's actually better. With all that said, this is about the rough and tumble side of business. And there is a rough and tumble side of business, if you didn't know. And a lot of people don't talk about this in a real way. Some people are not even familiar with it, don't even know about it, so they're unqualified to talk about it, but I'm qualified. I'm going to talk about it. And you're going to have an understanding of it through today's masterclass, because just so y'all understand what I mean when I say a contact sport. Contact sport is any sport where contact is allowed. There's physical contact. Doesn't necessarily have to be trying to knock somebody's head off, like let's say boxing or football, where you knock people's head off, but there's contact allowed. Where's a sport that there's contact? There's some contact every now and then in baseball. There's contact in wrestling, even though you're not trying to take anybody's head off. You're just trying to pin them. There's contact in basketball. There's some contact that's allowed. Some of it is a foul, but some of it is actually allowed. So you should expect there to be contact if you decide to play a sport that is a contact sport. So it's not something to whine and cry about when contact occurs if you're playing a sport that has contact. You're playing basketball, for example, somebody fouls you, you shouldn't get mad that you got fouled. You should be happy that you got fouled, because that means that person had to commit some kind of a violation in order to stop you from doing what it was that you're doing. So you should actually be happy, because the only way they could slow you down was to violate. And a certain number of violations, you get a reward for forcing them into that violation. We call them free throws in basketball. So it's just something that you adjust yourself to. So let's get into it. Point number one. Topic again today is business is a contact sport. Number one, the days of coming up with an idea, slapping it on a website, sending out one or two messages, letting the world know that you have it, and then the money just rolling in, those days are long gone. Some of you were not even around when those days existed. If you're over the age of 33, you might remember those days if you've been on the internet long enough. Now, you had to have been publishing on the internet, or at least paying attention to what was going on in the publishing world of the internet. You had to be paying attention before 2007 to even know the world that I'm talking about. So even if you're over the age of 33, if you weren't paying attention to the internet in that way, that part of the internet, I'm not talking about you just had a Facebook account because you were in college and you didn't know what was going on. But if you were paying attention to the publishing world where people were selling and things like that, pre-2007 and before, then you know what I'm talking about. But most of you probably were not paying attention on that level at that time, so most of you don't even know what I'm talking about. But I got to put this out there anyway, because these days did exist. There was a time where you could just come up with an idea, put something out, slap it up on a website that wasn't even that well designed, because it was hard. That graphic designers were hard to come by, and graphic design wasn't that as much of an in-demand position then as it is now. So there weren't as many graphic designers because you didn't need them. There was what are you designing? There was nothing to design. But now, because the internet is the internet, these days are gone. So anyway, back to my point. These days, when you could put up a website where you didn't have great graphic design, there wasn't even really a such thing as graphic design for a lot of us. You could slap this website up, send out a message or two about it, an email, maybe run a little ad. You didn't even have to spend that much money on ads. There was a time you could spend $100 on ads and you could get the kind of response from $100 worth of ads that now you get for $1,000 worth of ads. All right, these days did exist. So any of you who missed these days, you shouldn't really miss them. If you missed with an ED on the end, you should not miss without the ED those days because you never actually experienced it. But those of you who were around then know what I'm talking about. And those days are gone, and they probably won't come back for a while if they do come back. These days, if you have an idea of something that you want to sell online, you had to do some real work in order for that business to sustain. You had to do some real work, not only to put your thing out there and get the attention of the right people, but you got to work to get their attention. You got to work to keep their attention. You got to work to cut through the fat of everybody else who's also trying to get the same attention of the same people. And all of these things, back then, you didn't have these issues. You didn't have a whole bunch of people trying to get the attention of the same people. You didn't have everyone on the internet. You didn't have the internet and all the different apps and websites of the internet competing against each other for eyeballs, regardless of what you were selling. You see, a lot of people who are in sales online, any of you who sells online, understand that you're not just competing against other people who have a coaching program or other people who wrote a book or other people who have who is doing a live stream on TikTok. You're not just competing against other people who are doing or talking about the same thing as you. You're competing against anyone or anything that wants the eyeballs of your consumer. You see, right now you're listening to me. Right now I have your ears. You may not be looking at me, but you're listening to me. Most of the consumers of this show listen. They don't watch. They're listeners on audio apps. I have your ears right now, but my competition is not every other podcaster who's talking about mindset or a business. My competition is not only every other podcast, period, because you can't listen to two podcasts at the exact same moment. You can't listen to both of them at once, so you have to pick one. So I'm competing against other podcasts. I'm also competing against anything else that you could possibly be listening to. So I'm competing against all the songs in your favorite Spotify playlist. I'm competing against your favorite band or singer or rapper's new album that just came out last night. I'm competing against whatever voicemails you need to listen to from yesterday. I'm competing against all the audio messages you have from your group chats that are in your phone that you didn't listen to yet. I'm competing against anything you can watch on YouTube, because if you watch a video, you also got to listen to it. So I'm in competition against all of that stuff all at the same time. I'm competing against Netflix. I'm competing against any humans who are in your physical space right now who might want to say something to you, but you're not talking to them because you're listening to me. I'm in competition with anyone else who could possibly control your ears right now, or at least have access to your ears right now. Not controlling it, but having access to your ears. So your competition is not just other people doing the same thing as you. They are, but your competition is also anyone else that could possibly draw the attention away from people. So the biggest thing you need these days is not just it has nothing to do with your specific thing. It's about getting the attention of people. So there was a time, again, we're going 16 plus years ago, when you could easily get the attention of the people who were looking online without you having to really be that good. You didn't really have to be that good. You could be good, but you didn't have to be good. Your thing didn't have to be that great. There's a lot of things you didn't really have to be that good at, simply because there was very little competition. And nowadays, You got to do real work in order to make these same things, to get these same outcomes, in order to make sales online. Let's just call it that, making sales, because that's what we're talking about here, business. Now, you can sustain business these days, and those of you who were around back then, hopefully many of you are still in business these days, but you understand that there's real work you have to do in order for it to happen, and there's more work that has to be done now than had to be done then. But hopefully you did enough pre-work, homework back then, such that you don't have to do too much hard work today to make up for what you missed back then. Hopefully you didn't miss too much. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is business is a contact sport. So number 2, this is where the contact sport part of it comes in. And I mean this literally. So when I say contact here, I mean it in 2 different ways. I don't mean just bumping into each other and throwing elbows. Usually in business, you're not doing that. I mean actually making contact. So when I say contact sport, yes, I do mean that it's rough and tumble and it's hard and you're going to clash with other people and you got to compete in order to succeed, but I also mean contact in this other way. How often are you actually making contact with the people with whom you would like to do business? Well, that's a good question. So you can't post something one time today and expect people to come running to get it unless you already have a huge, rabid fan base, which most people don't have a huge, rabid, active fan base. You have to go out and you have to cultivate the attention. And even if you have a fan base, period, you still got to give people reasons and probably tell them more than once why they want your thing. Why should they care about your thing? Why should they come into whatever your thing is? You can't just post something one time on Facebook or even send one email and a bunch of people are going to come running to get it. You got to tell them over and over and over again. Not because people are trying to be jerks and make you work hard to get their money, even though they might be doing that. Most of the time they're not. The reason why you had to do this is because so many other entities are vying for the attention of the same person whose attention you're trying to get, that if you give them the message one time, they could completely forget that they even saw your message simply because they're getting so many messages. 16, 17, 20 years ago, they would get your message and you only had to send that one message simply because they didn't have 100 other messages coming through in the next 5 minutes alongside yours. Back then, there might be 2 other messages besides yours, so they could easily remember you because there were only 3 messages total. Now there are 300 messages total. So this is why you got to stay in people's faces and you got to go to them over and over and over again and remind them of the same thing. This is what I mean in this sense when I say the contact sport. So you can't have something, expect people to know about it if you're not doing the work to let them know about it and also let them know why they should want it. So this part of contact sport, when I say it this way, it actually becomes a double entendre. So contact meaning, yes, it's going to be rough. There you need elbow space, and a lot of people are trying to compete for the same attention from the same people. And also contact in that you need to actually be contacting people so that they know that you exist. So you need to literally be making contact with people in order for your business to be conducted. This also refers to the challenges you're going to have in business when it comes to closing deals, finding clients, generating attention, solving problems in general. As an entrepreneur, your number one job is to solve a problem better than it is currently being solved. I mean, that's the only reason you should have become an entrepreneur in the first place. When you become an entrepreneur, you are inherently saying that you can solve a particular problem in a way that is better or more efficient or more satisfactory for the recipient. You can do it better than the ways that are currently being offered. If I open a bakery in Miami right now, that I am inherently saying, without having to say it in so many words, that I believe I can sell baked goods and satisfies people's need for cookies and cupcakes and pies better than all the other bakeries that are out there, or at least I can do it. At least something that I do is better than what's already out there, because if I'm not improving on the silence, metaphorically speaking, then I should not be speaking. Everybody get what I'm saying? You should only talk if you can improve on the silence. I only have this podcast because I believe I have some things to say and some things to share that are better than the way anybody else is either addressing them, or maybe I'm addressing the things that nobody else is addressing, period. But if I didn't believe that, now you may have different opinions of whether or not I'm doing a good job of that or not. But if I didn't believe it, then there's no reason for me to have a podcast. You get what I'm saying? So there's no reason for me to write a book if I don't think my book can add to what's already in the book on the bookshelves. If I don't think I can do a better job of what's already out there on certain topics, then I shouldn't be writing a book on that topic. And it's the same thing for you. You get in business, there's something that you believe about what you're going to offer that is better than what's already out there. Because if not, well, why do it? So this is your job as an entrepreneur. You are solving a problem better than is currently being solved. That's your reason for existing in the marketplace. And here's my question. Do you think this is always going to be easy? I did an episode on your reason for existing in episode 2162, by the way. If you haven't listened to that episode, any of you entrepreneurs out there trying to figure out, what is your space in the field? Why do you exist? What's your purpose out here? You need to listen to that episode. Again, that's episode 2162. You can listen to all episodes of the history of the show at workonyourgamepodcast.com. So the question is, do you think it's always going to be easy? The answer is it will not. So it is your job to deal with the fact that it's not going to be easy. And this is why, again, you exist as an entrepreneur. Don't look at this as something to be avoided. Look at it as something to deal with. And instead, resolve that you will be prepared for it rather than complaining about the fact that you have to deal with it at all. Moving on to point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is business is a contact sport. Number 3, in business and as an entrepreneur, you will have plenty of opportunities to go off track, off script, and be distracted from your main objective. All right, so I'm not saying go off track and off script as a good thing. I'm saying this as a thing you probably don't want to do. You'll have many opportunities to do this simply because on these little devices we have that fit in our pockets that are within arm's reach at all times, there are plenty of options to distract you from what you should be doing on a daily basis, moment by moment, hour by hour, day by day. So if you don't know, then you are probably, actually, let me back up. First of all, you need to have a main objective. What is the main objective of your business? All right, what is yours in business? All right, now we'll say your main objective, we can even call this your secondary objective, because if you listen to this show enough, you know that your main objective is to generate revenue for your business. So let's say we got that out of the way. What's your main objective besides that? How are you actually helping people? How are you helping yourself generate revenue? And how are you helping people? What's the main thing that you help people do? Like if somebody wants to know what your business does, what would you answer? What is the main objective? If you don't know, then you're probably already off track and distracted right now in your business because you don't know what your main objective is. You don't know your main objective, then you're probably off track. I mean, it almost by definition makes sense. And that would mean you don't really have a North Star in your business, meaning you don't have a main goal or a main outcome that you're helping people achieve or that even you want to achieve. I mean, of course you want to make money. Everybody wants to make money in their business. Again, I'm saying let's put that aside. That's always going to be the main objective. But putting that aside, what's the main thing? You need to get really clear on what your main outcome is and stay focused on it at all times, while at the same time not allowing yourself to be distracted by other things. And there will be plenty of choices to get distracted. The hard part about this is that there's always a whole lot of other things that you could pay attention to. A whole lot of anything else's, so to speak, vying for your attention. So the hard part about it is not in what you are dealing with, but in what you do not deal with. The hard part of where we are in business today is staying away from the things that have nothing to do with where you're actually trying to go. So the question is, how much are you willing to ignore and be oblivious to so that you can stay focused on your main goals? Should I ask that question again, just in case you didn't catch it? How much are you willing to ignore and be oblivious to so that you can stay focused on your main goals? This is not as easy as it sounds. So look at your smartphone again. Ask yourself, how often do you get distracted by anything that's on that screen to the detriment of what you're supposed to be doing for your business? This is why I say it's a contact sport. So everything on that smartphone, on the home screen of your smartphone, what is it trying to do? It's trying to contact you and get your attention. All right, Facebook wants to contact you. Instagram and TikTok and YouTube want to contact you. You know how they measure their success? By how much time you spend on the app. That's them contacting you with other people's content, but they're still contacting you, and they know exactly how much time you spend on that app. The more time you spend on the app, the more they can charge advertising, the more money that they make. And they understand that that's their game. You see, they know their game very well. This is why you use these apps so much. This is why I use these apps so much. We all use these apps so much because they are very locked in on what their game is. They know exactly what their main objective is and how they execute. You need to get that locked in on your main objective and how you execute. I'm not saying don't use social media, but you should use it for strategic reasons that are leading to your main outcomes, your main objectives, not just using it because you don't have anything better to do, which is how they're able to suck so many people's time away. Listen to episode 1690 where I explain the deep secrets that social media apps don't really want you to know. recapping today's class, which is business is a contact sport. Point number one, days are coming up with an idea, slapping up on the website, sending out 1 or 2 messages, letting the world know, and then the money rolling in. Those days are long gone. Many of you don't even know about those days. Good, because you probably will not live to see them again. Number two, this is where the contact sport of it comes in, literally. So I do mean the rough part when I say contact sport, but the double entendre is also mean contacting your audience. You need to be continually contacting the people who you want to get in touch with, because you are competing against a bunch of other entities who are trying to get their attention as well. And you are not just competing with other people who talk about your same subject matter or have the same type of product as you. You're competing against anyone else who's trying to get your customers' attention, because people can't pay attention to 2 things at once. They got to pick one. So you are competing against anything that could possibly take their attention away from you and put it on something else. Number 3, in business and as an entrepreneur, you have plenty of opportunities to go off track, off script, be distracted from the main objective. So you need to know what your main objective is. After making money, what's the main objective? You need to know what that is for your business. And it should be clear when people come across your material what your main objective is and what you're trying to do. So there are a whole lot of anything else's that are vying for the attention of you and also of your ideal clients. Your job is to cut through that fat for yourself personally and cut through the fat for them, so that they know the best place they need to be. The thing they need to pay the most attention to is not them or they or it or something else. They need to be paying attention to you. All right, so look at your smartphone. Look how many possible distractions you have there. Now think about your ideal customers and clients. They got just as many possible distractions as you have, and understand that they're not spending all day thinking about you the way you spend all day thinking about you. So this is the work that is cut out for you in this contact sport called business. With all that said, let me tell you how I can help you with all this. First of all, once you text me, tell me the best idea, best thought you got from today's class. My number is 305-384-6894. Secondly, Work on Your Game University is the place where I will help you to learn how to cut through the fat in a strategic way, how to do it in a systematic way, and how we can game plan for you cutting through the fat and getting through to your ideal audience, your ideal clients, meaning the ideal people you want to work with who have the money to pay for what you're offering, actually want what you're offering, and will actually implement what you teach or what you share, will use whatever it is that you sell so that you get positive results for them. They will give you positive feedback. You can use that as social proof, and you can get another sale, another sale, another sale, and of course all this leads to money, and you having a financial situation that you want. I will help you through all of this process as a member of Work on Your Game University. The way you join the university is by going to workonyourgameuniversity.com, and you'll see exactly what happens next right there on that page. Again, that's workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all day.